assuming you've got your NIV, so you can come and read it in the NIV. Matthew 6, 19 to 24. And Sarah, have you got it in the Message? You'll come and read it in the Message as well. Matthew 6, 19 to 24. Thank you for following the series in such a...
You know what? I've been following it very closely.
I'll stand here like a rose between two thorns.
How rude. Very rude. Okay. Treasures in heaven. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money.
Great, thank you. And in the Message?
The Message is entitled, A Life of God Worship. Don't hoard treasure down here where it gets eaten by moths and corroded by rust, or worse, stolen by burglars. Stockpile treasure in heaven where it's safe from moth and rust and burglars. It's obvious, isn't it? The place where your treasure is the place you will most want to be and end up being. Your eyes are windows into your body. If you open your eyes wide in wonder and belief, your body fills up with light. If you live squinty-eyed in greed and distrust, your body is a musty cellar. If you pull the blinds on your windows, what a dark life you will have. You can't worship two gods at once. Loving one God, you'll end up hating the other. Adoration of one feeds contempt for the other. You can't worship God and money both.
Great, thank you. And then the New Living Translation says, don't store up treasures here on earth where moths eat them and rust destroys them, where thieves break in and steal. Store your treasures in heaven where moths and rust cannot destroy and thieves do not break in and steal. Wherever your treasure is, there the desires of your heart will also be. Your eye is a lamp that provides light for your body. When your eye is good, the whole body is filled with light. But when your eye is bad, your whole body is filled with darkness. And if the light you think you have is actually darkness, how deep that darkness is. No one can serve two masters, for you'll hate one and love the other. You'll be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. And if you're new to church, if you're new to the Bible, then the point of that little exercise is there's various different versions of the Bible, and sometimes different translations speak to us in different ways. And I think sometimes it's just quite nice to hear the different versions. But I'm going to be picking up the subject of money, which is what I actually spoke on a few weeks ago, the last time I spoke, and it just happened to be the way the rotas worked. I've got the two money ones on the bounce. But the last time we talked about the importance to giving to people in need, and in that we actually talked quite a bit about actually the fact that there's rewards in heaven that we can either gain or lose. And this is a theme that actually is running through the Sermon on the Mount. The last time when Richard Cooling would have spoken on fasting, and the context of this was not to be disheveled and make a big deal of it when you're fasting. So when we're talking about fasting, we're talking about going without food and devoting that time to prayer instead of eating. So when someone comes along and says, how are you getting on? The answer isn't awful, I'm starving, this is terrible. Because what we're doing when we do that is we're trying to draw attention to ourselves. And because the answer you're hoping to get back, possibly if your heart's not right, is look at that Chris, look at him fasting even though he's really, really hungry and he's pushing in. But in Matthew 6:18 it says, then no one will notice that you are fasting. So this is talking about actually making sure you get up, have a wash, comb your hair if you've got hair. Then no one will notice that you're fasting except your Father who knows what you do in private. And your Father who sees everything will reward you. And if you remember back to the very start when we were in what we call the Beatitudes, the blessings, God blesses you when people mock you and persecute you and lie about you and say all sorts of evil things against you because you are my followers. Be happy about it. Be very glad. For a great reward awaits you in heaven. And remember, the ancient prophets were persecuted in the same way. So there is rewards and treasures to be gained in heaven as a result of the way that we live here. And it's also picking up on a point here that one, what we do here has an internal impact, but also it's a reminder that actually there's a life beyond this one. One day, our time here on earth will be over. And there's only two ways in which we're going to leave this earth. One, we will die, hopefully many, many years from now, or we'll see Jesus return, as we sang about already this morning. That is the only two scenarios there are. And for those who have accepted Jesus as Lord and Savior, and I'm thinking about, the guys that are going to go through the waters of baptism later. That's a public declaration of saying, I'm going to turn my back on the things of this world and follow after Jesus. For those of us who have put our faith in Jesus, salvation and heaven is a promise. And that is a reward for putting our faith in Jesus, not because of our actions. Heaven isn't something that we can earn. It is a free gift. But this whole passage is suggesting, on more than one point, that there are treasures and rewards to be gained by our actions. Do you understand the difference? So heaven itself isn't something that we can earn, but there are rewards and treasures in heaven that we can receive. And it's really, for me, one of the songs that Scott sang this morning, it talked about, was it the simple gospel, I think, if I remembered it right. And in some respects, it is so simple. The gospel message is one of creation, that God spoke this world into being. The fall, that as mankind we messed it up. Redemption, Jesus came to help us put things right. And restoration. God's ultimate plan for every single one of us is to one day be restored with the Father in heaven. That is the purpose